All right, welcome to Town Council regular meeting, June 18th, 2025, Cape Charles Civic Center. Could I please get a roll call?
Newman present.
Holloway present.
Buckholz present.
Buda present.
Grossman present.
Ashworth present.
Let it be known we've established a quorum. If we could all rise for a moment of silence and pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you. Getting into it this evening, we have no visitors' presentations. I would now like to open it up to public comments.
Carol Carnegie. Good evening, Town Manager, Honorable Mayor, and Town Council. My name is Carol Carnegie, and I'm a resident of Cape Charles. I live at 513 Madison Avenue. Before I begin my comments, I have to apologize for a delay in missing the deadline for budget considerations. I apologize deeply. I'm very, very, very sorry. My husband and I moved to Cape Charles 5.5 years ago. We didn't know a soul, but soon became aware of a wonderful organization, the Cape Charles Museum and Welcome Center, where we now serve as docents and active board members. The Cape Charles Museum and Welcome Center will celebrate its 30th anniversary next year, with continuing the mission to bring awareness of the history of Cape Charles with excellent exhibits, models, artifacts, videos, maps, and photographs. The Museum and Welcome Center also operates as a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We take pride in raising money through memberships, fundraising, and donations. As with other nonprofit organizations in the town, we want to accomplish more for the town, its residents, the businesses, and the visitors. I would be grateful for the Town Council to consider one need of the museum in the town's 2026 budget. Again, I sincerely apologize for the lateness of this request. I hope you can understand. The Museum and Welcome Center requests that the town of Cape Charles consider adding $1,000 to help the museum bring the Virginia 250 Mobile Museum exhibit to our town to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the American Revolution, the Revolutionary War, and the independence of the United States, in conjunction with Northampton and Cape Charles's Virginia 250th celebration also on June 19th through the 22nd, 2026. The Mobile Museum is a free of charge, hands-on, interactive, and immersive museum on wheels for residents and visitors. The Mobile Museum is housed in a quad expandable tractor trailer that is traveling throughout Virginia. That means it's really big. So please let us work together to bring the Virginia 250 Mobile Museum to Cape Charles. I have some pictures if I'm allowed to pass them out. Okay. Just what you might like to see. I'm used to passing out papers.
You're a teacher, weren't you?
Thank you.
Sunday school.
Thank you.
Thanks.
It's rather large.
So, together the town, the museum, and the Welcome Center can accomplish great things. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Carol, where do you anticipate this going?
I'm
Like,
sorry?
Where would it be parked on the museum?
We have
It looks kind of
talked-
big for that.
It is. We have talked to the local Virginia 250 Commission Committee, and they have invited us to park it on the railroad grounds. So we're hoping that that will come to fruition.
And do you anticipate that this will be, like, we can book it for the same time that we're gonna have the ships, or will this be?
That's the idea. That's the June 19th to the 22nd. We thought that it was suggested to us by them that it might be a good time for, since Sail Fest will be here too. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other
Thanks, Carol.
questions? Elise McMath?
Good evening, Town Council and Mayor. My name is Elise McMath, and I live at 304 Tazewell Avenue. On behalf of the Historic District Civic League Sidewalk Infill Committee, I'm here once again to request increased funding for sidewalk infill and investment grounded in our shared commitment to public safety and infrastructure. Our membership has consistently identified sidewalk infill as a top priority because it will make Cape Charles safer and more walkable for residents and visitors alike. Speaking for myself alone, I also support the lighting and electrical upgrades on Mason Avenue for the same reasons. As the Main Street Executive Director explained on Monday's Civic League meeting, better lighting helps businesses stay open longer, boosting the local economy and enhancing public safety. Addressing dimly lit areas in the historic district is a goal our membership strongly supports, and the added tax revenue that results from such an investment could keep our property taxes down in the long run. Any potential tension tonight isn't about competing priorities. I believe it's about communication. It is my assessment that the frustration stems from a consistent lack of meaningful community outreach. Yet, I believe everyone here wants the same outcomes: safety, economic vitality, and responsible infrastructure investment. Monday's Civic League meeting reminded me why community input matters. When even key public works staff disagree on the scope of the electrical upgrades, that signals a need for clarity and broader engagement, not haste. Cape Charles is full of thoughtful, experienced residents who are eager to contribute. Welcoming those voices leads to better outcomes and stronger support for your decisions. Ultimately, I believe there is value in not only you hearing from us, but also in us hearing from each other. That said, I don't believe anyone is on opposing sides on this issue. I believe there is a path forward, such as moving ahead with funding phase 1 of the electrical upgrades to secure the $50,000 county grant, while taking the time to identify the appropriate scope of work that best aligns with both our capital improvement plan and community strategic plan, ideally through a town hall. What I'm here tonight to request adopting the amendment to the community strategic plan to have the development of sidewalk infill program as strategic priority number 3, as well as pairing it with a budget line item that matches that level of prioritization, is a consistent community-driven request you've heard from residents throughout this year's public hearings. Thank you.
Thank you.
Karen Zaborski?
Good evening, members of Town Council. I'm Karen Zaborski, Executive Director of Cape Charles Main Street. I'm here tonight to voice my support for the electrical upgrade on Mason Avenue. For a town that's 140 years old, I'd say it's been a pretty remarkable place to live. And it has everything to do with the constant care and attention it has gotten from its stewards, residents, local government, civics groups, and organizations like ours, who all contribute to making it and maintaining the quaintness and beauty it holds. I think we all have its best interests at heart. When the story hit the newspaper that this electrical infrastructure project was about 6 weeks of twinkling lights versus the need for sidewalks, I was really taken aback. I felt compelled to speak tonight to help get all the facts into the public view, as many of these were missing from the article. I would also like to thank Claudette and the rest of the Historic Civic League for having us at their meeting this past Monday night to bring clarity to the issue. I'm sure I'm not alone in feeling this type of communication is what must happen to keep us all working in concert for these total improvements. This infrastructure upgrade was certainly not pursued for simply twinkling lights for 6 weeks of festive Fridays, but a project that will resolve many issues, making safe, accessible electricity available up and down Mason Avenue, as well as Strawberry Street, to continue adding to the beautification of the town. This upgrade will bring access to electric to locations where there is none now, such as Mason Avenue from Busky Cider to Bay and Strawberry Street, as well as solve issues with current electric that is undersized and unable to be upgraded. There are many businesses who have signed a letter of support for the project because they want to have more lighting in town and have it on for much more than Festive Fridays, an event Main Street produces to help create a more viable year-round commercial district. The businesses found that when lights are on, it creates ambiance that draws people into town for shopping, dining, and other community activities. If we had infrastructure to support it, we could extend the use of lights in the commercial district to create and maintain a walkable downtown throughout the year, increasing the sales and meals taxes that also come back into the community to support other projects. This upgrade project has been needed for some time, and Ralph Bowen, the Public Works Manager, has actually been working on bids for the last 18 months. It was not something that just popped up overnight and thrown into the budget. When the opportunity came in April of '25 to apply for the Northampton County Grants for Infrastructure, as a partner to the town of Cape Charles, Main Street worked with the town to acquire a grant for $50,000, and the town was going to set aside a portion of the budget to get electrical infrastructure projects underway. This grant was done from a bid received by the town. Main Street did indeed get the $50,000 grant that was specifically to go to this infrastructure project. Jumping forward to last week, somehow this line item in the budget became a divisive issue, pitting one project against the other, literally turning it into a this or that, which should never have happened. My understanding is there are line items for both the electrical upgrade as well as for more sidewalks in the budget, which are also needed. It seems we have the ability to support both, so why not both? The last caveat I will share is the $50,000 grant that Main Street was awarded by Northampton County to help with this project must be used for this specific project by June of 2026. If we are to remove this project from the budget, then I would need to return this grant to Northampton County, as you cannot transfer it to another project. I hope we can find a way to take advantage of this monetary gift to get this project off the ground. Until then, Cape Charles Main Street will work with the town to wrap up the final touches of our current projects, the improved Strawberry Street Plaza with table shade and soon-to-be installed Newtown clock, donated by the Rotary, as well as getting the ADA compliant sidewalk to the bathroom at the beach building, including the ADA showers, getting the water fountain installed, the newly updated bathroom. I thank the council for their consideration and look forward to continuing to do great work for the town alongside the other great organizations that make this town the special place it is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. John Dempster, from Linda Landing, the Shaney. How's everybody doing? Thank you for having everybody in. I'm sorry, I guess I just want to speak on the power upgrade. You know, it's come to my attention from a lot of local business owners. Had some conversations with a lot of people in town about it. And I think that after trying to weigh it, it's been a really difficult thing. I'm sure that it's been very difficult for you guys to weigh as well. Just wanted to bring up a few points. You know, I think that the infrastructure upgrade was maybe framed improperly about the twinkly lights in the first place. And it sounds like there are some necessary improvements that would be beneficial. I guess that I would just ask if it is considered in the budget and if it were to be approved. I think there are three main things that mainly concern me is that if we make this move and we spend this kind of money as a taxpayer, looking from a taxpayer's perspective, I'd like to see that we have things in place that guarantee these lights are going to be on, whether that's either full all year long, year round, whether that's from November 1st to daylight savings, whatever that be. I think that that could clarify some of the issue, number one. Number two, I think that the timing of the project is really vitally important. If you're gonna phase this out, which some people have told me it's gonna be phased, I think on that note, I think that even though it's a little bit more, doing the north side of Main Street, or Mason Avenue rather, would have a larger impact if you're going to hopefully get this approved again for the south side the following year. So I would encourage you to consider the north side as opposed to the south side in the first phase. And I would also encourage you to consider, if it's at all possible, having it done for this year's Festive Fridays. And I guess if it can't be, which I understand that that's probably a tall task, then you know, you're really kind of doing this improvement next year to see it. There won't be any real fruition this year in terms of having the most impact be during the winter season. So I think that it will still be a somewhat contentious issue in next year's budget to continue looking for money for this on the south side when, you know, people in town haven't necessarily seen the impact of it. So I would just ask that you consider, you know, the timing of the project, making a clear commitment to having the lights on for, you know, either year-round. I don't think there's any reason why they couldn't be on year-round. And making sure that if you were going to do this, that the north side of the street is more of a priority than the south side. Thank you.
Thank you.
He's the last one who has signed up, but I do have some comments that were submitted in writing.
This first one is from Mark Pugh, K-Coast Surf Shop at 245 Mason Avenue. It says, "Dear Town Council, I am in support of the installation of a permanent electric connection to the trees on Mason Avenue. In reviewing the public comments from the previous council meeting regarding this subject, I can understand the trepidation of those in opposition. Practically every one of the correspondents has mentioned the lights only being used during the winter festive Friday celebration. They expressed the cost benefit was not worth the short time frame of use. I propose we also use the lights all summer long and on shoulder season weekends from dusk until 10 p.m., perhaps ceasing them earlier in the off-season to increase the benefit side of the equation. Those commenters are residential property owners, of which I am also one. In full agreement with them regarding spending, I too want my tax dollars used in the most efficient manner and not wasted. But I also own commercial properties subject to property taxes and pay the B-Pole business tax based on my gross sales. These commercial property and business-based taxes help to subsidize the property taxes paid on all our residences and contribute to the many services the town provides to Cape Charles residents. From my residential balcony overlooking the commercial district on Mason Avenue, I always see folks strolling the street just after dark looking for things to do. Summer, winter, weekends, the scene is the same. The B-Pole business tax is a percentage on gross sales tax. The more tax I pay, the happier I am, as it means my gross sales are larger. On average, we pay just under $2,000 per year in addition to commercial property taxes. I hope it grows to $3,000. Our retail store is committed to increasing our sales, and this summer our hours will eventually be 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. If Mason Avenue was lighted in the summer and on shoulder season weekends to 10 p.m., no later is needed, it would provide the many folks out for a stroll a beautiful sight and give them a taste of what the town offers in the off-season, especially during festive Fridays. It would incentivize other businesses to stay open as well. Since the B-Pole tax is a percentage-based tax, the added tax collected through increased gross sales will help fund the lighting costs. It is my hope the council will see this as an investment, also taking advantage of the Northampton County grant, rather than an unrecoupable expense. The more B-Pole business tax revenue the town brings in, the better it is for the town, for residential ratepayers, and for the businesses as well. There is currently unused commercial space that will soon come to life on Mason Avenue, making it more of a destination for residents and visitors alike. The more inviting the town makes Mason Avenue, the more commercial activity, the more taxes collected. Investment like this is a win-win over time. This next one is from Laurie Klingel, resident at 622 Monroe Avenue and owner of Chuckletown Productions at 237 and 215 Mason Avenue. I would like to voice my support for the upgraded electrical service on Mason Avenue. Right now, the use of open extension cords taped along sidewalks is not only unsafe for pedestrians, it also doesn't reflect how we want our beautiful town to be perceived. Last holiday season, when the issues with the tree lighting on Mason became obvious, I was told that an upgrade was in the works. I assumed it was being addressed and didn't follow up further, though in hindsight I might have and probably should have. That said, I want to emphasize that this electrical upgrade is not just about holiday lights or festive Fridays. As we work to balance a vibrant summer tourist season with the need for a viable year-round commercial district, consistent and reliable lighting, especially in the fall and winter months, plays an important role. It helps create an inviting downtown that encourages off-season shopping, dining, and community activity. This infrastructure investment supports public safety, local business confidence, and our shared goal of maintaining a thriving, walkable downtown throughout the year. Of course, I recognize that the town has many competing needs, from sidewalk repairs to public restrooms and other important services that benefit residents, businesses, and visitors alike. I also want to state my respect for proper process and planning and I fully support the town's efforts to approach these decisions thoughtfully and transparently. This is from Claudette LaJoy. She's the president of the Historic District Civic League. So thank you to all of town management, staff, and council for all the hard work and the minutia of details that goes into preparing our town budget. As the Civic League, our organization's goal is to strive to work together to improve the overall quality of life in the historic district by facilitating greater engagement and participation with our fellow neighbors in town affairs. Thank you for your diligence in prioritizing the sidewalk info program into Appendix B of the updated Community Strategic Plan. The inclusion of the initial $100,000 in the town budget will allow us to work together to provide a framework to move the best options forward to improve our pedestrian network. We know that this money will only go so far, but I hope that if we prove successful with this initial plan, then more money will be allocated in fiscal year 27 and consecutive years to see the efforts through to completion. The Civic League is ready to participate to ensure progress is made each year. Thank you for the inclusion of $20,000 for the stump removal efforts. Our Civic League Committee looks forward to working with Councilman Newman over the next few weeks to create a stump removal prioritization plan that will outline how we can best utilize those funds. I would like to request an additional $10,000 for plantings during this budget cycle to follow through on the beautification efforts, something in which our many volunteers can assist with to keep costs down. If we prove successful with this initial plan, then I hope additional funds will be allocated in fiscal year 27. Thank you for the beginning efforts to revise appropriate planning and zoning language pertaining to property maintenance. However, I hope that the policy re-evaluation schedule will be prioritized with the goal to be completed by the mid-year budget review time, in which appropriate planning and zoning budget line items will be revised during the mid-year review. The Civic League is a forum of information and dialogue. Thank you to Ralph Bowen, Director of Public Works, and Karen Zamorsky, Executive Director of Cape Charles Main Street, for attending our recent meeting and providing information pertaining to the proposed electrical upgrades on Mason Avenue. Understanding the project background, needs, budget, and timelines was very informative. As with all capital improvement projects with a cost of $10,000 or more, the proposed Mason Avenue electrical upgrades should be included in the capital asset management program to ensure the public can ensure the project meets our community plan for a public information session so that the entirety of the project can be presented to the public for comment. The Civic League is ready to participate to assist town in disseminating information and engagement on the efforts. Thank you for the opportunity to comment. This one is from Mary Kilman. She's a resident. Said, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of you for your hard work and creativity in revitalizing Cape Charles. I'm an Eastern Shore native. I have watched Cape Charles bloom in a truly desirable place to live over the years, especially in the last decade. I have also lived in many other places, from France to New Orleans and many places in between, but Cape Charles takes first place for where I want to raise my 3 children. The decision to invest in Cape Charles and move back home was a green light for our family after visiting Cape Charles Christian School. I've been following Cape Charles Christian School's social media sites for months, seeing kids exploring the whole town as a part of their education. I would see photos of them learning at Central Park or on the beach, guided by local environmental leaders. How wonderful it seemed for them to be learning about their own surroundings, teaching them to appreciate the shore. I'd see them at the library and the community garden. I was intrigued. I scheduled a meeting with the staff. I was impressed. The entire staff seemed to focus on teaching more than just what was on the lesson plan. They talked about teaching the whole child, meaning teaching them kindness, respect for themselves, others, and their surroundings. We enrolled. I scrambled to take the plunge of moving back home. We moved into an apartment the day before my oldest daughter started kindergarten. It wasn't long before we decided we'd made a great decision and bought a house. That was almost a decade ago. That daughter is now a 9th grader. She graduated last year and moved on to Northampton. My 13-year-old son just finished 7th grade at Cape Charles Christian School, and my youngest is a rising 6th grader there. My kids have done extremely well. They have thrived. The environment set by the staff has been one of inclusion, patience, individual attention when extra help has been needed, and fun. I think the secret to why Cape Charles Christian School is so loved by parents and students alike is because the staff goes above and beyond to make learning fun. In short, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for having such a great school choice. We were already enrolled in a great school in Chesterfield County, but Cape Charles was calling, and Cape Charles Christian School was the key to finalizing our decision to make the move. Okay, this one is from a group of business owners, and it says, "To the Cape Charles Town Council, we, the undersigned businesses of the Cape Charles Commercial District, respectfully submit this letter in support of the proposed budget item for the electrical upgrade on Mason Avenue. While Cape Charles Main Street sponsored Cape Charles Festive Fridays is the most visible and immediate beneficiary of this project and a key driver of off-season economic activity, we believe the electrical upgrade carries broader and more lasting significance for our town. Bringing consistent and safe lighting to Mason Avenue during the darkest months of the year is first and foremost a matter of public safety for our guests, our employees, and all who walk, work, and visit downtown after sunset. Beyond safety, enhanced lighting contributes to a more vibrant and inviting atmosphere in the off-season. This helps combat the perception of Cape Charles as a seasonal destination and promotes extended commercial activity during our shoulder season, especially from October through February, when daylight is limited and foot traffic tends to decrease. This is not a short-term fix, but a long-term infrastructure investment with enduring benefits for our business community, residents, and visitors alike. Perhaps most importantly, the availability of $50,000 in grant funding that Cape Charles Main Street has secured from the county presents a timely and fiscally responsible opportunity. Incorporating the electrical upgrade into the current budget allows the town to leverage this significant offset. Delaying the project would risk forfeiting this funding and may result in the town bearing the full cost in future cycles. In our view, seizing this moment to improve safety, aesthetics, and economic vitality while capitalizing on external funding is a clear and logical step forward. We appreciate your consideration and your ongoing support for the growth and vitality of Cape Charles." And it's signed by Lori Klingel of Chuckletown Productions and Chessie's Toys, Ed Sable, Carol Sable, Beth Ann Sable of Peach Street Books, Roxanne Ward and Pam Carpenter of Bowie 56, Andrew Fomer of The Boardwalk and Like a Sailor, Lee Greer, Table and Tonic, Margaret Holman, Cravings, Christine Wengler, Calix Creamery, Stephen Edmond, Mason Avenue Bakery, Meredith Lusk, Moonrise Jewelry, Christina Corallo, Ambrosia Cafe, Gary Williams, Bayview Engraving and Art Glass Studio, Amanda Curry, AJ's Bar and Grill, Rebecca Wyville, Love and Canna Company, Michelle Molina, Drizzles, Liam Duncan, Cape Charles Distillery, Haley Duncan, Salty Rooster, Ellen O'Brien, Localish Art, Robert Brady, Bailey's Bait and Tackle, Marie Brady, Chase's Soft Serve, Amanda Dutton, Mint and Honey, Marianne Ream, Historic Palace Theater, Clelia Shepherd, Lemon Tree Gallery, Mary Parr, Focus Optical Boutique, Lenore DeBellis, Edible Picasso, Susie Sharnick, Coastal Shore Vacations and Coastal Shore Real Estate, Nancy Cardone, Love Letters, and Elizabeth Walker, the Northampton Hotel. That's fine. And this one is from Ralph Bowen. He submitted it to, I think, your reasons for upgrading the electrical on Mason Avenue. Good afternoon. To better explain the reasons we need the power upgrade on Mason Avenue, I would like to make it very clear that the responses and text message to Bob Panic were after my day had ended and my mental focus was on a personal project at home. The overall project is needed to better serve the town and visitors. I have been working on this project for some time, and the first time we put it out to bid, it failed, so we broke it down a little and did the service upgrade and power pedestal in the back of Strawberry Plaza. Main Street paid for the boring and for the supply to get it there. We have needed this upgrade for some time. The first issue that comes up is the undersized and aging wiring that we have under the ground that we are currently working with. The line that was installed was only to support the street lights and nothing more. Currently, we have one switch for each side of the street and rely on GFCI outlets on every pole to serve all the needs in that area. The upgrade would give us a dedicated circuit to control the area better and promote business within the events. One big event that is being reduced in terms of extravagance is the crab pot drop. I currently am limited to how much of a wow factor I can give it because I don't have the power to support my needs in that area. The second issue is that I have no way to turn the street lights and tree lights on or off individually because the system is all or nothing. This upgrade would allow us to use the lights year-round, as they could be put on a timer and not limited to the festive Fridays and the New Year's event. I always try to do my best to create a wow factor for these events, but if this new system was upgraded, it would be a wow factor all year for everyone. With the timer ability, we can operate it like everything else, and they can go off at a set time to give the best quality of life to the residents of Main Street. Currently, if we want to turn them off without killing the street lights, my team must unplug all the trees, as there is no other way to keep one on and another off. The third major point for a system upgrade would give us the ability to have future upgrades like additional power and conduit on Mason Avenue. Currently, the underground wiring is in an old conduit that was not sized for any expansion or upgrades. We would need new conduit to accommodate the next 20 years to 30 years of town growth. During several Main Street meetings I had to discuss festive Fridays, I was asked, why can't we use timers on each pole for the lights? The reason we can't do this is because the poles don't have constant power. When the photocell turns off for the streetlights, there is no power to the pole at all, and in turn, the timer stops running. The same question was asked by current council members and by others. It is my recommendation that if most of the businesses are asking for this, a year-round wow factor, and this could help to improve sales in the stores, then that would mean better tax revenue. Better tax revenue should be an offsetting factor in this issue. This is one of the many things that Karen at Main Street and I have been working together on, and with a collaborative relationship on these projects, the town has received a lot of funding towards beautification and infrastructure improvements. You want me to read Karen's letter too, even though she spoke? Thank you.
We had Karen's letter in there, but you got it.
It'll be ready.
That's all.
All right, thank you.
No, not a public hearing.
All right, there we go. All right, so can I get a motion for the consent agenda of approval of agenda format, approval of minutes, and approval of the April 30th, 2025 financial report?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. We have no unfinished business. We will go straight into the adoption of fiscal year 2026 budget and appropriation.
All right, I'll go ahead and start. I'll just read off just to make sure from the beginning where we have the ordinance prepared for us. The general fund this is before you guys do any amendments or anything like that. So this is the way it is to the public. The general fund revenues are set at $7,855,107.62. The general cap fund revenue is set at $6,767,456.46. The general debt service fund revenue is set at $3,953,103. The public utility fund is set $80,000. The harbor fund revenue is set at $1,630.98. The sanitation fund is set at $361,177 for a total town budget of $20,017,475.06. This also incorporates the types of tax rates that we set and user fees. And so as established into the ordinance, those are the ones that we have agreed upon. And that's where we are for our budget. We've gone through 2 draft budgets, a public hearing, and here's the opportunity to discuss. Any questions of what we've said?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we adopt ordinance 2025-0618A. That includes our fiscal year 25-26, as well as building, planning, and zoning fees, and making appropriations for the fiscal year.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, I'd like to make some amendments. Propose some amendments, if I could, please. First, I'd like to propose an amendment to the budget in support of the request of $1,000 from the Cape Charles Museum to host the Virginia 250 Mobile Museum. It's a one-time, limited in scope event. I think it would be a great draw to the town, and it's a small dollar figure of $1,000.
With the motion on the table, is there a second?
Second. A second.
Any discussion on
Yeah,
it?
the monies come out of what? Reserves? It's got to come out somewhere, so I'd like it coupled with the reserves.
Go ahead, Rich.
Yeah, the reserve, we do have, once we start taking the meat land property off, and if you look in expenditure from the fund, general fund, 100-4121-8100, this will, once we take meat land out, it will give us $246,122 for, excess revenue that we could take it from there.
Okay, that's why I just wanted to make sure it's coupled with where it's coming from.
Any other discussion? Not hearing any. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
Wonderful. I have another proposed amendment to the budget to support the grant application from Cape Charles Christian School for the Krabby Blues Festival in the amount of $4,000. I had an opportunity to talk to Debbie Mountain and get some information from her about the school. Right now, the student body is made up of 20 to 25% town of Cape Charles residents. It's been, I think, integral, as we heard today, in encouraging young families to move to Cape Charles, giving them an option of a school that's in town. And that is one of our strategic initiatives, is to bring families to live here full-time. It's a free event. The Krabby Blues Festival is a free event, and it's very similar to concerts in the park, and I think therefore there's justification for us to support it in the amount of $4,000.
Is there a second?
Again, from reserves?
Second.
We need a second first.
Second.
All right, discussion?
Well, again, from reserves. Just want to couple it with the reserves.
I'm tracking it.
Anybody else? Not he-
I think it's very similar to the Concerts at Park, because it's actually a community event. It's free. Same thing that we're doing there. It's not really anything different other than the organization that's running it. That's it.
I do think it's important to note, and we turned it down and said this when we discussed it the first time, we give a lot of in-kind services for that event as is. The fencing, trash cans, all of those things are free in a sense to the event. So I think it's important for the public to know that. There is already a significant contribution to the event and helping make it happen.
Well, we do the same thing with Citizens for Central Park.
Yeah, I wasn't saying disagreeing. I said, I think it's important to know. It sounds as if we weren't supporting them. And we very much, if you see I happen to have a bird's eye view of what goes into putting that event on. And it's a lot of work that our staff currently
Additional
does.
support.
Yes. It's not our team's responsibility to set up like that for any event, you know. So I think it's important to note that.
So hearing no other discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries, or amendment carries, I'm sorry.
I have my last proposed amendment to the budget is to remove I believe it's $164,000 that's budgeted for the electrical upgrades on Mason Avenue, with the caveat that we return to this item no later than January 2026 during the mid-cycle budget review process, if not sooner. Again, part of the caveat would be that during the preceding 6 months, we have a due diligence process that would include putting the project out for an official RFP and adding it to Appendix B of our strategic plan, which would include all related public hearings and opportunity for commentary from the public.
Second.
All right, discussion. I will actually open it up with a discussion on this one. The reason Karen and I did talk about this earlier today, just looking at the bid that's out there and then the other bids that were proposed to us, there's a lot of confusion with this whole thing, where the money's going, where it's being placed, whether it's all on Mason, is Strawberry included? And the contractor basically changed the entire story to where all of the money that was allocated is now saying it's all Mason. That doesn't even include Strawberry. So these numbers are all over the place as far as I'm concerned. What I would like to do is just that, is look at it at mid-year. The one thing I'd like to propose though is if we do get a good RFP, that we do propose to do the entire street, Mason, both north and south side at one time.
I would
as
actually
opposed to-
propose that we include Strawberry Street,
And that's fine too.
truth be told. And I would say, something I didn't mention during this is that doing it this way, we don't lose the $50,000 allocation
That's what I
of
was
the
getting
grant
to.
from Northampton County, which is sort of a key portion of this discussion.
And then also going into next year's budget, if we are going to try to get that 50,000 again, if we do somehow lose it, we will never have a chance to get that from the county again. Fact. Along with other bids or other grants that we may go to for the county, we're not gonna be looked at very good if we somehow lose this 50, in my opinion, going forward.
So my question would be, why wouldn't we reduce the 164 down to 50?
And just keep it parked there for now. I mean,
Correct.
Yeah,
I,
my
You
recommendation.
got a revenue and got a
Yeah,
comparable
my recommendation would be a little, in the same lines of that, but to leave it in. I wouldn't go to 50, but I would leave it in as it is, because the work and the bid process can begin now. And if we need to make an adjustment to remove it at mid-year, then we remove it.
Well, I would
I
also
just,
like-
I feel like it won't give us, if we're waiting until January, then we've wasted all of this time to move forward to get the funding. Why would we move forward on all of that and do the work if we don't even think we have a possibility of the funding?
Well, I'd also like to make a motion, or have someone make an amendment to the amendment, that we do leave the money there, but we park it in camp now and have it sitting there available for mid-year.
That's what I was-
So that money is available.
That's what I'm proposing, but,
Okay. So you would have to make an amendment to the amendment.
Okay. We have to take care of that
Let's
first,
clarify
yeah.
what you're asking here.
Yeah.
So
If it's
I-
in camp for that particular year, it's in the budget for that year.
yes.
Correct, but we can look at it again in mid-year. At that point, we can still move forward with getting our bids and everything else out there with RFP.
Now.
Now, so that if that does come in and we do all agree in mid-year, we can actually get to work immediately as opposed to,
And if we don't, and if we're not satisfied with what it is, then it comes out.
That's correct.
And we do that, just so the public knows, there are other items that we think we're gonna get a capital project done, we think we're gonna get along on this, and by mid-year, that's why we do that evaluation, to see where we're at, to not do that.
let Rick go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I agree. I think we keep it, I'm tasked to not do anything until I bring it back to you guys. Therefore, I can't spend it.
Right.
So he's gonna redo the bid, and I have another person that's gonna bid immediately after that. So I agree, park it.
Are
And
we
I-
reviewing the scope of work
And I
that's
bring
being
it back.
proposed?
And I bring it
Because
back.
there's some concerns about the scope of work.
I agree.
Absolutely.
I have concerns about it as well, which is why I want to put it back out there. And another thing that I'd like to mention this evening is at our last ANPDC meeting, it was very interesting that their big problem up in Accomack, believe it or not, is their bids, where they're having problem getting bids, is on anything under 50,000.
Yeah.
So when I mentioned to them that we can't get anybody to bid on over 100,000, they went crazy. They're like, so now they're giving me their entire list that they've used for ANPDC and every contractor that they've used for their projects. And we can put it out to them when this does go out. So we'll have a lot more people that actually are used to dealing with government agencies, and hopefully we get more bids, not only on this project, but maybe our welcome center, our building, so on and so forth going forward.
I think Paul's point, though, is we need to make sure internally, we have identified our scope of work very clearly before that bid process starts again.
Oh, for
Right.
what we want.
Right, like to
Okay.
be very, very specific. Are we asking for a project that's broken down on South and North and Strawberry, and what that entails? Like
And what the total scope is.
what the total scope of work.
The fact that we're putting 164 is half the job.
Right.
What is the total scope? And it should be in our capital plan
Right.
laid out that way.
And also, should it be part of the strategic plan too?
It should, that,
Which would be an amendment to the amendment to the amendment.
Well, no, I have that in here as part of my amendment, is that we would go through adding it into the strategic plan and all public-related hearings and opportunity for commentary. So I kind of packaged that into the whole amendment here.
When you all say strategic plan, are you talking about the list of priorities, not the strategic plan? Like, sorry, that's important to know.
It's Appendix B of the strategic plan.
Right.
Correct.
That's exactly what I said. And
Yeah.
adding it to Appendix B of our strategic plan with all related public hearings and opportunity for commentary.
Rick's to
Libby,
do,
can we package them all in one, or do we have to do them one at a time? Yes, please.
Greetings. I'm just here to answer questions and clarify the process here, if I can. So you have another item for you tonight on the strategic plan. That might be the more appropriate place to, if you're going to be amending the strategic plan anyway, that might be, rather than try to lump it into here. If I'm hearing the discussion correctly, what I'm hearing is that you want to leave the money in place to preserve the option and preserve the grant, pending additional information and pending additional RFPs and all of that. So if that's the case, then you need to vote this amendment down, right? You need to kill this amendment, just leave it in the budget, but put the restriction on the manager that he can't spend the money until he comes back to you and you approve it. Then, as Tammy suggested, at mid-year, you can either add to it, take it away, or move forward. And that you then, if you want to include this project in the strategic plan, wait and do that when you get to the strategic plan, and then you can decide where in the priority you want it, because you can't just add it. You have to add it in the priority list.
Sure, but John, doesn't adding something to the strategic plan go through a process beyond just adding it in today? I'm sorry, I should clarify. Are you suggesting that we add that in today as we do
Yeah.
the other piece?
I'm not suggesting anything. I thought that's what I heard you. That's what I thought I heard you wanted. You
And-
could do it today.
Yeah.
And we have
It's been-
something else that we're doing that with.
It's been advertised. It's been
Yeah.
published. You could do it today, or you could, since you're going to potentially wait till mid-year to authorize the funding, you could enroll it into next year's prioritization, and do it then when you know more. Because right now, trying to sequence it in when you don't know all the numbers and the whole scope, it may be premature. So again, it may just be appropriate to kill this whole amendment, and that preserves your options at mid-year and next year's strategic plan to work them both in. And then let the manager know what you want him to do between now and then.
So at what point would this become something that is open for public communication and discussion? That's kind of, that's what I'm trying to get at.
That happens traditionally. That happens in January, February with work sessions with the town council, and then we have a public input session from the public before you set that priority.
But
So-
that doesn't mean that we have to wait until mid-cycle.
No,
right?
no,
We
you
can
don't
do
have
it
to.
At any given time.
Right, once you get all the information back.
Correct.
You
Yeah, we could set up a work
You
session.
could choose to move forward, you just have to advertise it at.
Then my opinion is then we should put it in the strategic plan and kind of bump it up a little bit to make it a priority. That way we can do it, because if you say go, then it's Rick's marching rules then, he's got all that blue stuff up there he's dealing with,
Right.
and then all this lingering stuff down there, and it's like,
And this
as
is
John always
on,
said,
and
he's
this is
got
on
only so
there.
many man hours he can do stuff.
And I still think it needs to move to camp as well. It needs
Yeah,
to be.
yeah, it is, and so I also would like to apologize for an error on my part in developing the camp. So it is in the camp, right? It's in there, but in all full disclosure, it should have, the whole project should have been in there, not just the first phase. So I should have, after we had that work session and we put it in there, I put it in the camp for the south side. I should have then put it in for an out year, the north side. That would have been the better way to develop the camp, so I agree with that. But you can, again, I would recommend amending the camp and the budget at mid-year when you know more. Trying to slam it in there now when you don't really know the numbers might be premature. But, any other questions?
No, that makes sense.
Who are you again?
So call for the question.
Oh, no, we just got to vote on it.
I know,
That's
that's what I'm
saying.
saying.
So
That's
we
what
have
call
a
for the
motion
question
and a
means,
second,
is
and
get
we
back
had
on track.
discussion
To remove it, to remove the dollars.
to remove the dollars from Yeah,
Yeah, so it was a motion and second, and we just need to vote on that.
all right.
I still have, I need clarity on, this amendment wasn't just to remove the dollars, it was all the subsequent pieces.
Yeah.
And so I just
Strategic
want to make,
plan.
yeah, so I want to make sure that we're not just voting on the dollars piece, but that we're also deciding about adding it to the strategic plan. And to me, it doesn't make sense to wait until January to add it into a strategic plan that is then for fiscal year '26.
We're gonna do that later.
This is-
But,
So I
Yes.
understand what you're saying, we're gonna do it later.
yeah,
But by adding it in tonight to that amendment that sort of already exists, we're not giving ample opportunity for public discussion. And that was sort of part of the caveat,
But putting in the strategic plan is gonna give us the ability to do that.
to do,
I think you guys are saying the same thing. He wants to add it when we get to that later.
Later.
And that's what you
later.
wanted to make, not later in January,
no,
later.
but later tonight, the only
Right.
people who are gonna be discussing it are us.
Right.
No,
And
but
I'm trying to say that I think the public should be able to discuss, to make
we
commentary on this.
put, as a council, we put most of that stuff under the strategic plan. With,
Which stuff?
and the priority, all that stuff that's on
Yes,
that list
yes.
came from us.
Yes, I know.
And some came from the public when we had our yearly meetings.
Yes,
So us putting it on is not abnormal.
I don't think that it is. But
I-
when we had the conversation and created the strategic plan back in when, someone help me, January?
January.
It was a public hearing, and there was public commentary on what items were on that strategic plan and where they aligned. And we made that decision based on public feedback.
But I don't think that, we make changes to that priority list. As you'll be on, you'll see, we evaluate it at different times and make changes. So we're able to make changes, which is what we would do tonight. And my understanding is John was maybe suggesting, let's say we set up a work session in September on this specific subject, because it's now on our priority list, just like all those other things are. But for Rick to be able to move forward to do any work on it, it needs to be on the priority list somewhere. I think probably the challenge with your motion is that it involves two things, some of which we agree with and some we don't, and I'm not sure how to, to get the result,
The
what
money
you're
needs
looking
to stay
for.
somewhere.
And I
thought.
think-
The money can't just go away.
Also, this is in the strategic plan.
Yeah.
When we look at walkability, that's, I mean, let's just say that. This does fit in there. It's an action item that would go with that particular
She's talking about
piece.
Appendix B, though.
Right, but that's,
Specifically.
yeah.
It'd be a,
So-
would be a subcategory.
So I think we're leaning, and maybe, I don't know if I'm interpreting it right, that we're leaning to leave the money where it is, which is, then we would vote down that part of the motion, but we would vote for the part of the motion to add it to the Appendix B in the strategic plan. Tara, is that where,
That sounds
is
fine.
that what you're, I'm just trying to,
No, that sounds fine.
But that's when we come up to this, modifying the strategic plan.
Right.
We still need to vote on this because we have a motion and a
right.
second.
We have
so this
something else
needs
we're
to
adding
be
tonight anyway, so.
voted down, or if it passes, it comes off. So, on the motion as proposed, all in favor? All opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So moving on, any other motions
That is it.
on that?
Fresh out of motions.
Well, we have to
Yeah, we need to do
remove the meat
these.
land
Yeah, we got a big old list of
I
them.
can propose that to get it on the table.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure what was handed to us was similar to what was given to us during the work session in a table fashion.
Okay, can I just check on one number? On the 6th bullet down, it should be in the number where we have our account number, it should be 120-4121. Is that what you have?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the corrected one.
Okay.
And then I have two submitted ones that you've heard have also.
Oh, right,
for
that we
you
need to
guys
act on.
Consider as well, so I just,
Yeah.
after you're done, I've got these.
Yes.
Okay,
All
so
right, so you
I'll
have a
make a
motion.
motion that we adopt the budget amendment to remove meat land as outlined in the handout that we have that would affect the 6 or 7 line items.
A second.
All right, is there any discussion on what's being removed from the meat land purchase?
So you just need to modify that, the maker of the motion would just modify the second bullet by, you need to reduce it by the $5,000, because you previously made two other amendments that increased a $5,000 expenditure. So the money going into the reserves will be $5,000 less. So instead of it being 246, 122, it'll be 241, 122. Make
John,
that,
But if we're going to make other changes,
I'm sorry?
if we're going to make other changes, should we do that first then before that line item?
Yeah.
Right? Because we have the firehouse and something
Those
else.
should be separate amendments.
They're separate.
I know, but isn't that number
But
then
it
going to
affects
change
that
again?
number.
Well, in the next motion, yes, you'll change that one line item in the next motion. But you should take these one at a time so they're not confusing.
Right.
So do we need an amendment?
It
to
just
the
makes
motion
sense to
now
do
that's
these
on the
first,
table?
I think.
Change this.
Or if the maker of the
Yeah,
motion and second.
Change,
You're right.
Yeah.
change the second bullet to reduce it by $5,000.
Yeah, then we're good.
Correct. And we'll have to do it again, because we have two others that were gonna affect that number as well.
Yeah, so we're gonna keep subtracting from that. So
Yeah.
All right, well, the motion hasn't been seconded yet. Let's think about this
I
real.
did.
Oh, it
I
did?
seconded.
Okay, sorry. I was gonna say, let's go.
Let's do the other way.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
suggest we hold it. and
We can
deal
just
with
put
the
it,
other two.
here, we'll put it in the corner. It's right here.
I mean, yeah, you can do that.
you can put it in the
And then
corner.
You can bring this up.
I can
and then
put this motion in the corner?
Put it,
Yes.
just put it aside
Okay,
for a
so this
second,
motion
yeah.
and seconded
It's on the
is-
table.
It's on tape.
That's fine. All right, so,
And so we have two other ones to add, and then we can vote that and then come back.
Yes.
Okay, so the first one that I'm bringing to you is, the Civic League has requested $10,000 additional for plantings.
which I think we agreed on in the last meeting.
We just didn't vote on.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll make a motion that we add the $10,000 for Civic League plantings.
and beautification.
And reduce that number to
Is there a
231.
second? Is there any discussion on the Civic League's money?
I think they have a good plan for both removal, and this gives them some ability to actually replace some things, and that gets us on the right track. So I support that.
So that increases that budget line item from 20 to 30.
30.
Correct.
It reduces the amount when you go out to 231, 122.
I'm
All
tracking
right,
it
with
too.
no other discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that $10,000 motion carries.
Okay, that takes us down to the 231, just to keep tracking.
I got it.
And then the next one I have is our Cape Charles Volunteer Fire Company. Originally requested 75,000, but in your budget shows 50. They've come back and asked if, well, would you guys please consider 25 additional thousand? And so that's what's, asking
I
you to
move that
consider.
we make the adjustment for the Cape Charles Volunteer Fire Company from 50,000 to 75,000 in the budget
For the upcoming fiscal year?
for this, yeah. mhm.
Okay.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion on
Yeah,
that?
just realize that this all of a sudden becomes a continuing, right?
Yeah.
We're just agreeing that every year, we're going to be providing $75,000 to the fire department. Just so for an awareness, it's not one time only.
Need a lot more houses.
Yes, correct.
Well, wasn't there a payback of the loan? Right, they have to pay back part of our loan
Not,
to them?
not to us, we gave it as a gift, the
We did ours as a
250.
gift. They have a loan for the rest.
They
of
have a
it.
loan.
That was their down payment for their loan.
Correct.
The biggest challenge, which you heard from Ryan, is that they serve so many more than they can take credit for. Everything they apply for is based on census numbers. And we go from, 1,200 to 4,000 in the summer. And they also now are providing a lot of support to Kings Creek Landing and Tower Hill, and doing that. So they've really shown to me in the last 2 years fiscally to be very responsible and moving in the right direction. And I love that you've added them to our weekly report. I think that's going to be really helpful for everybody to see the value
Well,
that they
and I
bring.
think they've also stepped up their fundraising.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Any other discussion on the fire department? All in favor to raising it from 50 to 75, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. We are now down to 206-122.
There you go, Ryan.
There we go.
So now we bring that back.
All right, so we're bringing it back from the corner.
All right, so let me just
Can you
make
amend your
sure
motion?
we're talking the same figure. I have the 246 minus the 5,000, minus the 25K,
Minus 10.
minus 10, and minus 1.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, you're right. 205, 122.
205.
So it's 205,
122.
122.
Okay,
So if
okay.
you can-
You said 5,000, where did that come from?
That's.
5,000 to the Christian school.
Well, yeah, the 5 included the one. It's 4 for Krabby Blues
So,
and
so,
1 for
can I read what I have?
the museum.
I have 1,000 for museum, I have 4,000 for the Krabby
You're
Blues.
correct.
Yep.
You're
And then I
correct.
have, then I have 10,000 from the Civic League, and 25,000 from the fire department.
You're right.
Yeah.
Okay, 206, 122.
Okay, so I'll amend my Meatland amendment there to adjust the second bullet to the 206, 122.
All right. Now that that motion has been corrected and seconded, is there any other discussion? Not hearing any, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion now carries for the
We're gonna do it.
removal of meat. What's next on our agenda? Oh, I guess I gotta go back to the original motion.
Yep, get it off the
All right.
table, let me
So
move
the
it.
main
Here you
motion
go.
and the second. So I move for adoption of ordinance 2025-0618A, approving the budget for fiscal year 25-26 and building, planning, and zoning fees schedule, and making appropriations for the fiscal year as noticed, and forego the reading of the ordinance. This will be a roll call vote. Ashworth?
Yes.
What?
Did-
Oh, I'm sorry.
As amended.
As amended.
Oh, okay, as amended. Okay, Ashworth,
Yes.
Buckles,
Yes.
Buda,
Yes.
Rosewood,
Yes.
Holloway,
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
Okay,
Newman.
Got it in, got it in.
done. All right, moving on, capital assessment management, program update.
All right, sorry, I'm just trying to get my pages together. This is just a form that John has updated in the back of your packet of this one section. It's showing 5 years ago he created this, but it wasn't the actual of what we were doing. He just went back and corrected it to show what we're actually doing in the cycle of how this works.
Is this what you handed out? Or where, or is it online?
No, this
That's what's
is-
online, right?
Yes, that,
Okay.
this is just part of our packet.
Okay, all right.
It's just in your regular section B, C7B.
Yes, gotcha.
And if you look in towards, it's on page 5, it's just the
Yep,
tab or whatever, it's just, table has been updated. And that's all this is.
Okay.
It's showing what we actually do.
Right.
In our calendar year. John?
There's actually more than that. It's page 5, which shows the calendar, but also page 8. So the original version of this required the council to approve a resolution, which we never did. So this is now reflects what we actually do. So the page 5 reflects the actual schedule that we've been using, and page 8 now reflects the format that we present this in and have been doing it for 5 years. So this just brings current what we did 5 years ago.
All right,
So, Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we adopt the capital asset management program as outlined in our report.
is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, not hearing any discussion, all in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. All right, amendment to 2025 Community Strategic Plan.
All right, this is where we had discussed the last time. If you look in your section 7C, you're gonna, on the last page is the Appendix B, and this is in our last discussions of our previous meeting. If you look downward in the black writing towards the bottom, it says new items to be started as soon as time, resources are available. This is where we changed number 1 to pursue development of a shared revenue agreement with the county, and number 3 was bumped up where it says develop an implementable sidewalk infill program. And so that's where this is now amended, and this is where maybe, if you had more discussion, Tara, this is where you could insert this and have your discussion of where it falls for
Why
the
would we
upgrade on Mason.
So don't we just
Why
have
don't we
to,
just change line 3 to include somehow, put that verbiage in there, because it's still part of the sidewalk.
I don't think.
No.
It's too big, more walkability to the
Significantly
sidewalk.
broad.
Too
Yeah,
big.
and
Yeah.
dollar figure.
Yeah, that's not
Yeah.
gonna work.
So let me start with a motion to adopt the strategic plan, Appendix B items as presented. We
Second.
can amend it.
Okay.
Do I hear a second?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a second. Any discussion?
Yes. I'd like to propose an amendment to the amendment that puts the upgrade of, the electrical upgrade on Mason and Strawberry onto this. I think we start big scope, and if we have to dial it down, to not include Strawberry or, I don't know yet. I haven't finished the full thought. I would say it should go probably number 4.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on Tara's amendment to the motion?
Does that make review efficiency of current planning and zoning processes number 5 then?
All right.
I just wanted to clarify that that's what we need, right?
Anything else?
Yeah, I'm not great with dropping 4 down lower than it is. I think a review of the fees and the processes that affects every resident of town is a really important thing. And not that the lighting isn't, but I really don't think it's a good idea to be moving that study any further down than it already is.
And can I ask a question here, and I'm being serious? I know we have numbers on here.
Yeah.
But obviously, there's some that are much easier to handle and can be done much quicker.
Yes.
So even though 4 would be moved to 5, that's something that literally can be done in 1 meeting or 2 meetings. I mean,
Well,
you-
no, it's gonna
you
take
know
a
what I
couple
mean?
of
It
months to.
No,
to
not the
look at it.
zoning one. He's talking about the other one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I mean, where we put it, I mean, do we really need to follow the 1 through 7 to where if we have something, like if all the bids come back in and everything else, to where we could just,
Give it
Push
the
it
grade.
forward.
and it's not really, yeah, I mean, just pushing it forward as opposed to, you know, putting a number on it and saying, okay, well, we're not even getting to this. I mean, I don't know. I mean, are we putting these truly in number?
The whole object was, this is for staff resources, and if they are not working on something, they move to the next line item, right? If something's on hold, or just waiting for information or meetings or what have you, they move on. It's not that they're sitting there going, oh, we haven't finished number 2 yet, and I'll wait.
Thank you.
So that's what I'm saying. It's a matter of.
It's a
setting
sliding
their
scale.
pri-
It's moving.
Correct,
Okay,
correct.
perfect.
So,
That's what I
and
wanted to get.
I'll just mention, 4 is somewhat in the works by a presentation already given to the planning commission. So it's not as though they're ignoring it.
So things are ongoing, no matter what number they are on this.
And it is sort of
plan.
different departments that are kind of taking the lead in pursuing those things. I mean, the lighting is more of Public Works together with town management and us, whereas Katie is probably more involved in the review of the zoning issues and things that we're looking at there, so.
So that being clarified, are you okay with it being at 4?
Sure.
Okay. Any other discussion? Not hearing any, all in favor of Tara's amendment to the motion, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, that amendment carries. Back to the motion. Are there any other discussion on the strategic plan motion?
No.
Not hearing any, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Not hearing any, that motion carries. Okay, moving on.
This one's easy.
Town Code, Chapter 28, Adoption of State Law.
No, we don't want to do it.
All right, not hearing a motion, that was done.
We're not. We're gonna go off by ourselves and just do what we want to do.
All right, can I get a motion, please?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we adopt ordinance number 2025-0618B.
Second.
All right, is there any discussion on this motion? Not hearing any. Let's have a roll call vote. Ashworth?
Yes.
Buckholz?
Yes.
Ruda?
Yes.
Grossman?
Yes.
Holloway?
Yes.
Newman?
Yes.
I thought you were gonna be one. All right, that motion carries. On to our last one, discussion of 2024 audited financials.
Great, I want to go ahead and start. I brought our auditor here through Zoom in order to kind of give a high level so that you guys can understand what you have and all the work that's gone behind this. I just want to say a couple things. I'm new, and so this is normal for me, is to present an audit to the council. And I think that this is good for our council, for our public to know that we have a clean audit. You know, this is a good thing for us. We have, I want to caution as we talk about things to our board, council, is that though there was a finding of a material deficiency, our staff was aware of this. It has been corrected. And so I want you to understand that, but however, there is an external investigation. And so there's matters that we cannot discuss until that, and once that is cleared, then we can discuss it. But at this point, please hold all questions related to that and do not discuss any personnel during this time. But we do have an auditor, and I'm excited that he can come and just give us a high level. And he actually worked with our finance department. We sat down and talked to him, and it was really amazing of how he started and walked it through. And I think it would be very important that you hear it from him as well. So without further ado, Taylor, take it away.
All right, can everybody hear me just fine?
Oh, boy. It's like a stadium. Turn off echo somewhere.
Can everybody hear me?
Give us 1 second, please. Or turn off the computer volume.
You gotta put it up underneath the TV.
Check one, check two.
Oh, you're fine.
We hear you in stereo.
Stadium.
All right, go ahead and give it a go.
He's
No.
muted.
Check one, check two, hello.
Go ahead, fire away. We'll deal with it.
Can we turn off on TV?
So do y'all hear me? Am I gonna go now?
It's going through these microphones.
Yeah.
But if
Oh.
I turn them off,
All right.
you're not gonna be able to ask questions
Right.
unless I turn them back on, or people can't hear you on Facebook.
Huh.
Can we
It's going through the microphones.
turn them off for a moment to
Can we
listen?
turn them off?
While
Yes.
we're listening and then.
We can't record this, or is it recording still? No, it won't be.
Well,
there
it
won't
is
be any-
recording.
It is recording.
But
With-
if I
with
turn
voice?
off the microphones, it might not, because the speakers are wired through the cameras.
I can record it. How's that? And then we can just put it
Well,
out.
What if we
I
just
wanna
turn
make sure
the
that
TVs
Facebook
off? We
viewers
just
still
look at
gonna be able to hear.
computer.
If I turn off the microphones, because that'll mean that they won't be able to hear what's going on.
Turn up the volume on the TVs, just run it.
Yeah, but say, we just use the volume on here, turn off the TV,
But then,
just use this.
turn off the volume on the TV.
Okay, but
And
then
Katie,
Facebook won't be able to hear it either. Just saying.
Hang on.
All right.
Just
Too
mute.
many?
Just press mute.
Do we do a tech audit?
There you go. That's a good idea.
We'll do that next year.
I'd like to make an
Mid-year, I
amendment.
think the mid-year is the
It's a
word.
mid-year review.
Go for it, Taylor, try.
Hello, can you all hear me?
Perfect.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay, well, I appreciate you all allowing me to attend remotely here. It's kind of short notice, so I definitely appreciate that. It's quite a little bit of a distance for me to travel out there. I just want to confirm, can you all hear me just fine? Can I get a thumbs up? We're good? All right, thank you so much, making sure. All right, so my name's Taylor Stover. I'm the partner in charge for the FY24 audit for the town of Cape Charles. Oh, pardon me, my screens are blanking on me. So just to give you a general overall of the audit. So we issue 2 opinions in this audit. Sometimes we issue 3 if you have to get what's called the single audit, but you guys were not required to have a single audit this year. So the 2 opinions we issue overall in the financial statements, which that big document of the audit report you're holding, those are your financial statements. We issue and that was an unmodified opinion. So an unmodified opinion is a clean opinion. It's the highest opinion you can receive. Additionally, we issued a second opinion, and that's on your internal controls. As stated earlier, we did have a material weakness for your internal controls related to some credit card procedures. I'm sure town staff can elaborate on that, and I definitely heard the message beforehand, so I am not going to expand upon that right now. Additionally, let me just kind of go over some key facts on your report here. Do you guys mind if I share my screen so you can kind of see what I'm looking at? Let me go ahead and do that. All right. So I just want to kind of show you just a few things in your report, just kind of show you some key numbers that I think you all should be concerned about. All right, so overall in your exhibit, so there's 2 types of statements you have in this exhibit, in this report. You have full accrual statements, which are going to be your government-wide statements.
Can you give us a page number?
Hello?
Could you give us a page number that you're on? Because we can't read that.
I'm sorry.
At all.
This is Exhibit 1, page 10. There you go. Sorry
Thank you.
about that.
Okay.
All right, so the difference between the exhibits, so Exhibit 1, Exhibit 2, those are your government-wide statements. They are full accrual. So those are going to be more similar to how you would see financial statements. Besides the presentation, they're going to be similar to the financial statements you get for Coca-Cola. And what I mean by that is they're going to include all the long-term items that you do not get in the fund statements. So as you see here, we have your capital assets are being included, your net pension asset is being included up here. We also have your long-term liabilities, which are not included in the fund statements. So there are some items in here that you're not seeing. So your net position for the end of FY24 for governmental activities was a little over $26 million. However, I do want to stress, because this is the government-wide statement, includes all those other items, that's not as important to me as the fund balance that I'm going to show on a couple later exhibits. So Exhibit 1 is going to be your statement of net position, and that is basically the balance sheet and the full accrual statement for the government-wide statement. Exhibit 2, pardon me, let me rotate that for you. Let me rotate that. All right, so this is just going to show you your revenues and expenses. It's also going to show the changes in your net position for the year. So one thing you may notice is with the sale of the water and sewer infrastructure, the beginning net position for governmental activities was 9.5, and it ended up with that $26 million. The difference with that is the transfer from the proceeds from the sale that were transferred out of the proprietary funds over there. Additionally, you'll see on the business type activities, which is the proprietary funds, you'll see they started out with $24 million and ended with 5.2. Again, the majority of that is due to the sale of the water and sewer facilities. Going further down, so now after you get past Exhibit 2, now you kind of start getting some fun financial statements. And I think these are the statements for you as governance. These are the important items that you guys will be looking at when you're kind of preparing your budget. So Exhibit 3 is going to be the balance sheet.
What page?
Exhibit 3.
Sorry, this is going to be 12. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to zoom in so I can see it a little bit. Apologize for that. So you kind of see some changes. I'm sure you see the big investment sitting over here in the general fund. That's where you guys park that money from the sale of the water and sewer facilities. But you guys ended up with your fund balance was a little over $18 million. And I'll show you the change from prior year in just a moment. So as I discussed earlier with Exhibit 1 and Exhibit 2, with those being the full government-wide full accrual statements, we also provide schedules that show how we go from the fund statements to get to the balances that we arrive on those statements. So Exhibit 4 is the exhibit that shows how we go from the statement of net position, how we go from the fund balance to how we get to the statement of net position balance over there. And as you can see, we start with fund balance, then we add the capital assets. We're going to add your OPEB and other items in there, your deferred outflows. Then we're going to take off your liabilities, subtract those out. So you can kind of see all the adjustments that are made to arise at that government-wide statement. So now as we get to Exhibit 5, which will be page 14, that is going to show you your revenues and expenditures. And this breaks it down by fund. So this is kind of a summary. As you work further back in the report, you'll see more detail on each of these funds. They'll have their own individual statement where you'll see the budget comparison. But here's where that information is summarized. So one thing you'll notice, I always like to kind of show you that your change in fund balance. So your general fund started out with about $3.5 million and you ended with $18 million. I would like to point out your special revenue fund currently has a negative fund balance, which is not unheard of, but typically you guys might want to just pay some attention and make sure that some money is transferred over there for whatever purposes to get that back to a positive fund balance. So as mentioned earlier, so this is Exhibit 6, page 15. This is the statement that shows how we get from basically your change in net position to the change in fund balance. Again, how you go from the government-wide to fund statements. It just shows all the adjustments that have to be posted to get there. If you have any questions, please just let me know. I'm happy to expand upon that. So now we get into Exhibit 7. So Exhibit 7, 8, and 9. Exhibit 7 starts on page 16. Exhibits 7, 8, and 9 are going to be your proprietary fund statements, pardon me. So you'll see here after the water and sewer sale, you guys wanted to keep $100,000 in there just in case you had anything that kind of showed up after the fact. So that money is currently sitting there. I guess if you guys haven't had anything to pay out, you probably want to go ahead and maybe transfer that money out and close it for the end of the year for FY25. And then here we'll kind of show you the changes in net position for the harbor and the net position for harbor and sanitation. You have just a little over $5 million for the harbor and just a little over $54,000 for sanitation. To show you the changes in those balances, as you can see, water sewer, this is page 17, Exhibit 8. As you'll see, net position, we had a large beginning net position in water and sewer. And then obviously that ended with that $100,000 that's sitting in cash. Again, that's due to the sale. I do want to point out there is a paper loss of $5 million on the sale of that. But then you guys were able to transfer that $14 million into the general fund. Harbor, you can see all the operating revenues and expenses. So you can kind of get an idea of the operating income as far on a kind of a modified accrual basis of what's happening there. I believe when you look at these proprietary fund statements, the cash flow statement, which is the statement that is Exhibit 9 over here, that'll kind of show you more just kind of where your cash is going and how that's impacting the operations on each of those. So one thing you'll notice here, so this is Exhibit 9, page 18. You have the cash flows from operating activities. So this is just kind of showing you the cash that went in and out during the year and basically how that is showing for the operations and then also for like capital items and non-capital items. So you kind of get an idea if the general business is kind of helping bring in the cash that you all need. As you see, the harbor actually had a kind of pretty positive variance here of 395. The big difference in that is going to be associated with getting rid of that negative cash that you all have here, or sorry, the increase in the overdraft payable. So there's just kind of some changes going on there. And then, so now we get into the notes. I'm not going to bore you by reading through the notes. If you guys have any questions on these, please just let me know, interrupt me right now if you guys, I know you've had some time to review the report. So as far as the general notes, I'm going to do that, but I'm going to touch on a few important items for you all. So capital assets. So this will show all the work that you all the capital assets you guys have for the county, for the town. And then you'll also have, so this will be for the governmental activities, which you might think of that more as the general fund. And then below that, you'll also have the business type activities. Again, I apologize, that is page 32 that we were looking at right here. So here you kind of see you guys had between your CIP and the additions you've had here, you had almost like $1.3 million in additions for the year. And then you had about $280,000 in depreciation. So you had a net increase about $940,000 for the year. As far on the proprietary side, you're going to see some large deletions over here for the disposal of the water and sewer system. So obviously we started the year with $24.5 million. You're now down to like 5.3. It's no longer own the system. Going down one more page, if we go down to page 34, this is going to show your long-term obligations that you all have. So these will be items, this is not necessarily just your debts, you also have your lease liabilities, some notes payable in there. You can kind of see all the increases and decreases by those individual categories. And as I scroll down to a few, like next page and the page after, you will now see how the debt service requirements by year on those remaining balances that you all have. So just breaking out with the lease liabilities and the notes payable. Obviously, with the water system disposal of that, those bonds have been closed and all those payments have been made. So those are now gone. So the notes payable you have remaining, I believe, are 2 rural development notes. I'm assuming they were for probably both vehicles is my assumption. Police vehicles is usually what those are for. And then you also have your copier and postage leases that are showing out there. Let's see here. And the one thing I will show, just since I know we were talking about, let me show you these, your fund exhibit. So if we get down to page 58. So as I mentioned earlier about how exhibit 3 and exhibit 5 were kind of the summaries of all the individual funds. Once you get back here to past the notes, now you're going to get into the fund statements where we do some budget and actual. This is more going to be kind of on a high level category, for like, so we just break out, this is taxes in total. It's not broken out in detail like it is further behind, like you get with the, showing the real estate and personal property and all the individual categories that you all have there. So you can kind of pay attention to the variances that you all had between your original budget, the appropriated budget, and what actually occurred during FY25, and just kind of, do some research, see what happened there. I will say for the most part, revenue for the use of money definitely increased for almost all localities just due to the high interest rates. So it's not uncommon to see that big balance there. Again, we change in fund balance. You guys almost had a $14.5 million in fund balance. You had budgeted to use about $330,000 in fund balance, and obviously with the change there, you guys did not have to do that, so that's wonderful. Special revenue fund is going to be exhibit 11, page 59 is the next. Again, it's the same thing. It's just going to be the detail, kind of the high level details, I would say, by category for your revenues and expenses. So in the original, the appropriated budget, and the actual items there. And now you're going to get into some what we call the RSI related to your pensions and OPEB. I am not going to bore you with that. It is a lot going on there. And now as we get further back, I'm sorry, was there a question?
No, it was just a call.
Okay. So exhibit 18, page 67. This is going to, again, the same statement. We're just showing the budgeted and the actual amounts for your debt service fund. Obviously, you guys just kind of transferring what you need to pay out, so it has zero fund balance to begin with and ends with zero fund balance. Capital projects fund, again, this is just a high level detail here at the budget. And then as you guys get further back, here's where you get the real detail by individual categories. So if we get to Schedule 1, this starts on page 69. So Schedule 1 is for your revenues, and Schedule 2 is going to be for your expenditures. And each one of these is going to kind of show like the individual, maybe not by line item, because you guys may have delinquent real property taxes and current real property taxes, but it's summarized by that minor revenue source there. So for each item, you can kind of see the original budget, what the final budget was, and the actual in detail by individual category. Again, these are summarized by category on those previous fund statements. I believe it was Exhibit 10 where you see this for the general fund further up. So you can just kind of pay attention to those and just see if you have any large variances there, especially when preparing your budget. So this is definitely very helpful for you guys when you're getting to your budget process, which I'm hoping you guys are, if not done, I hope you're almost done with that.
We just done. We are done.
Fantastic, that's great. As long as it's before June 30, I think we'll be all right. So Schedule 2, that's going to be your expenditures. It's the same thing. It's going to be kind of broken out by department. So you can kind of get an idea of what the original, the final budget, and the actual expenditures were for each of those categories. Again, it shows the variances, any significant variances in there you may want to explain. And actually, additionally, beginning with the FY26 audit, They're actually going to be required to be explained. That's a new pronouncement that came out with GASB 103. So starting with the FY26 audit, you will then have what's called notes to RSI, in which any significant variances will need to be explained. So that's something for all of us to look forward to. Now getting further down, this is kind of what we call the stat tables down here. It just kind of shows you some trends throughout the different categories throughout a 10-year period. All these, so table 1 and table 2 are going to trace to exhibit 1 and exhibit 2. Those are going to be on your government-wide statements as indicated up here. Sorry, this is page 75. As you get on, so now you get to page 77 with table 3. Now you're getting to some more where they're tracking the trends on the individual fund statements. So this kind of shows you some trends that are occurring in the town throughout the last 10 years. Beyond this, we get to the compliance section. So this is where you're going to get our opinion on your internal controls. That is where we identified, this is on page 84, pardon me. That is where we identified there was a material weakness. That's 2024-001, which there's some more detail on that coming back here on page 86, the last page. That is where you'll find the details on our finding for that, which I understand I cannot elaborate on at this time. So with that, overall, it was a different year for the audit. Obviously, it's the first year without Debbie. We definitely had some challenges, particularly with the water and sewer sale. That is just not a normal, pardon me, let me stop sharing here. Sale of the water and sewer system, that is just not a normal activity for a town. They don't typically do that. So kind of some high level journal entries there and some accounting required. I definitely think we've, during the course of the audits, definitely come to understanding of just trying to create a good checklist. I did actually issue a management letter for the audit as well. And with that, so a management letter is basically, this allows us to communicate items to both management and governance. And these are items that do not arise to the level of being a significant deficiency or a material weakness, but we still just want to communicate them with both management and the council. So with this, we just kind of recommend that you guys just create a formal year-end closing checklist. And this is just to make sure that all the funds and accounts are kind of closed as they should be. Everything's been touched on. We're going to work on that before the audit starts in February of 2026 for FY25. So we'll get that narrowed down so town staff has everything they need to be prepared for the audit in time. But yeah, staff are wonderful to work with. They're always very helpful, get us everything we need. And I know one thing you may be wondering is with that material weakness, how is that received? Material weaknesses are not uncommon. I hand out material weaknesses in my audits all the time for various reasons that may occur throughout the audit. But you all do have a clean opinion on your audit. So what that means is the financial statements as presented, the balances as presented, they are accurate. So all we had a material weakness for an internal control issue. So this is not going to impact your credit rating if you guys are going out for bonds for whatever reason. It does not impact your standing with anything there. So I know when people hear that material weakness, the kind of the alarms start going off. And I'm not saying it's something to not be concerned about, but I just don't want you to think that it's the same as having a bad audit opinion. You did receive a clean audit opinion. So the financial statements are accurate for June 30, 2024.
So all in all, the town looks good.
You have to forgive me, sir. I'm having a really hard time hearing you all.
I said, so all in all, the town looks good.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I think you guys have good staff in place. Care about what they're doing, and I'm encouraged by the audit for next year.
Thank you.
So can I ask about the checklist? Is that something that the auditor comes to the table with, or is something that the town develops?
So I create a checklist of documents that I look for the audit. It's like, hey, you need to provide us, the capital asset listing, the trial balance, just the 100, 200 documents that we ask for the audit. This is more of a closing checklist with that. I'm not going to say who it should be brought by. I mean, it'd be great if the town had their own, but we're going to collaborate to create a checklist just because I know what all needs to be touched and just to make sure that the town does address every account and every fund that needs to be looked at and just make sure it's reconciled. And just some general procedures, because governmental accounting is different than, public accounting, and a lot of differences there. So it's, some things are just a little different, and it's just, it's helpful to have that checklist.
All right, so the checklist is not so much for accumulation of data that you need or information that you need, but more assuring the accuracy of that information before you get there.
Correct. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Yeah, the other comment I had is we've internally changed some stuff for the credit card business. And what I'd ask is, would we, and I'm looking at Rick now, look to have that reviewed by someone rather than hope that we've got it all correct and tightened down and wait for the audit again a year from now? Should we have somebody come to the table to quickly look through what internal changes we have made or processes?
Well, that's a great question. And that was one of the questions I asked Taylor yesterday. However, he didn't look at the fine details of it, but we will come up with a system so that we can get that done, to make sure that we have been looked at, that these are sufficient.
The procedural changes?
Procedural
Right,
changes,
okay.
correct.
And are you looking within the next quarter, or, how soon are you gonna have that checked out?
I think for sure, since the buzzword has been thrown around, mid-year would be probably a good.
All right? All right.
I would think VML would be a good resource for that, for examples. Why recreate the wheel?
But you're saying we have a policy now, and we just want to have it sort of vetted by an organization
That's
to
correct.
give us a blessing that this is the way to move forward, so that we're not looking at it in hindsight next year if there have been issues,
Right.
correct?
That's
And,
correct.
and I would
That's
love to talk to you privately.
Okay.
So I just think that would be better. If you want to, we have systems in play. I think they're really strong. Is it going to be foolproof? No, because people who are really good about doing bad stuff will always find a way. But I do think that what we have done has significantly stopped any kind of opportunities. And the measures that we changed credit card companies on top of that so that things couldn't happen. But in details, I would love to talk to you about it.
All right. Anything else? Taylor, thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Taylor.
All right. Well, thank you all so much. I hope you enjoy the rest of your night.
Absolutely, thank you.
Talk to you soon.
All right. We having more discussion on that, Rick? Or are we done?
No, I do have some updates to give you, but
All right.
is that the right time?
It is, it's
Okay.
town manager comments. Let's
Great,
go.
thank you.
You're welcome.
I just wanted, I've got a stack of stuff, so I'll just go through them. Sorry. Are they
Yeah,
on?
we didn't have
Okay.
them.
A stack of stuff I'll just go through just so that you guys are informed. The first is just to keep you posted on who our new hires are or who no longer works for the town. Kiera Robertson, she was a seasonal, and she is now gone to full-time, and she's in Public Works. So we're excited about that. She is an incredible employee that has proven herself to now become a full-time employee with us.
In what capacity?
She's in maintenance. She's a maintenance specialist.
That's great.
Yep. Jeremiah Camp is no longer with the town. And as of June 13th, some of these, I don't know if we just gave you updates, but some it's a little bit past. Harper Matthews has resigned as a police officer, and that was on June the 2nd.
Do we know a reason why on that? That can be discussed?
I think it was thank you for letting me have this opportunity, but she just resigned. She didn't really have a specific thing.
That's a
The
shame.
next is Ben Gomez. He was hired to work at the library, replacing Olivia Palmer. and that was on May 6th, so it's a little past due, but letting you know. Pam Inland, she was a regular part-time, not regular, but part-time seasonal kind of person. She actually is our now events coordinator and my assistant. So we were excited. She was hired on June 10th. So we did interview lots of people, and we chose Pam.
Also the hot dog lady.
She's also the hot dog lady.
Not anymore.
So
No more hot dogs for her.
Yeah, that's right. She cannot do her hot dogs while we do her town events. I know, darn. But she's an amazing person. We currently have 4 employees at the harbor for seasonal. We have 1 seasonal at the library, 5 beach attendants, and 2 seasonal for public works. So that's that for our staff. I wanted to just read this to you because it's exciting when you get good news. This was sent to Pam, and it's about Ralph. Passing along many thanks from the residents that called in to complain regarding the non-working lights on Washington. He was very upset about this when he called yesterday. Oh, sorry, this is Pam writing this. This person was very upset when he called yesterday, and you have fixed all this stuff in a day, made a huge impression on him. He called Jody this morning, so thankful and overwhelmed by the speed in which his concern was addressed, and she said, "Thank you for handling this so quickly, much appreciated." So I just love it. I wanted you to hear that. I love to hear these things. I have given you some details. I won't talk through it, but I give it to, so each council member has details about just the status report on the Trinity Church and our, where we're at with them. So you'll see one is just a status update. The next, you're gonna see a proposed lease of space of what we're working through. And then the interior repairs that'll be necessary for us to do in order to move into their space. And then some exterior repairs and cleanup that we're proposing that gets taken place. So please read through it. Call me, come by the office, and we can talk through these things.
I did look at that and have a question. I don't think it's a good idea to move council meetings or commission meetings from here to the fellowship hall, but that's something we can certainly talk about. I think this is a good location for our meetings. So,
I agree.
Just something that I noticed.
And on the build-out that we're doing, being that we are signing a lease with this, are they building the suit, or are we responsible for what we're looking to do in the church? Just curious.
Bob?
I'm sorry. Are they responsible for the repairs that we're looking to do, or the upgrades we're looking to do in the church, or is that gonna be part of the town? Even with the lease, it's not part of the build-out?
That'd be very minor stuff. It'd be service counters, IT drops, things like that. But all the repairs would be on the side.
So this list of interior and exterior repairs, they would pay for?
Correct.
Okay.
That's what you asked, yeah.
That's what I thought.
Thank you.
But, you guys gotta make up your mind. I'm in the middle of negotiating a lease, and that's 3,000 square feet, the fellowship hall. So don't let me hang here, okay?
As far as what, being part of the lease?
Yeah.
I don't think, I mean, everybody else can speak for themselves as well, but I don't think we need to put that as part of the lease while we still have
This building.
this building.
Right, agreed.
The biggest,
We walked out of the work session with that impression.
well,
I think that's another discussion later this
Yeah, I
evening,
don't-
but I don't.
Well, it sounds like Bob's in the middle of negotiations.
All right,
so
so
you
I'd
need
say
some
no, we don't
information.
need the 3,000 square feet.
I concur.
I agree.
Yeah, I thought we were doing that because we felt like our staff was in kind of a compromised position and we had all the accessibility issues. I mean, this may not be Shangri-La in here, but it's serviceable in the
Yeah.
meantime, so.
And this is generally our average meeting, all the
Yeah.
stuffed seats.
I'm not arguing with
Yeah, no.
I mean, I don't want it to be a deal killer.
Yeah.
Do you recall what was our reasoning for wanting it? Refresh our memories?
I think there was issues with having the staff, particularly the clerk, again bouncing back between two places to set up meetings, that type of thing.
No.
That was discussion
Okay.
you had.
I don't remember.
And again, I'm not arguing with you, you just need to make a decision. And selling the property.
Right, but that's not gonna take
long
place.
if we do
That's-
that.
That's once the other building's done. So again, that's, I'd say, as an executive decision, take the 3,000 square feet out.
Yeah.
Yep. Go right ahead.
Okay. Next is just, I have started doing a breakdown of just the cost and talking to Ben with Underground Connections. So that's coming. I'm gonna meet with him next week, and then I have another person we meet. So I think it would be good just the scope to narrow down. So that's the next step, is just to narrow down the scope, exactly what we're looking for, so that we get what we're asking.
Are
I think
you,
that's what
are you
the-
talking about the
The lighting on Mason
electric? I just want to make sure
Yeah.
But
everybody
not
knows.
only that, he needs to know that it is going back out to bid, and he
Yeah.
needs to give us his most competitive.
Yes, yeah. So that's
I mean, he
another,
might as well just wait at this point. I mean, he can talk to you, but
yeah.
So when do, just to make sure I understand, when do you need us to have a discussion of scope by, so that you can start to have some of these conversations?
At this point, we have time, so, I mean, once we have time. So I think what we can do is put it on the agenda in the next month or so, and then start putting it as a discussion for us to narrow down what exactly we're asking for.
Well, I'd be
Yeah, work
looking for
session.
the staff to make a
Yes.
recommendation.
Right, bring a report and,
Staff
Yeah.
report, and then
Yeah.
we can chew on that.
yeah,
now we
exactly.
just canceled the meeting Friday first.
I know that
Karen.
they're talking about 90 days to actually do the work, if it was one side. So clearly, you know, there's just, we can't start now. We'd have, there's just no time to get it done really before the winter season. So it would have to be right after anyway. Yeah.
No.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay.
Can I just go back to that really quickly? Is there appetite for us to explore including Strawberry Street? I think there should be.
I agree, I think we
Yeah.
voted on that.
Cost. I mean, I think, you know,
Absolutely, and that's what I'm saying, but
Absolutely.
I think we should be exploring that as part of, okay.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Okay. It's just money.
Can't take it with you.
And just some highlights in my weekly report. There's, a couple things you guys have noticed. I'm trying to at least communicate. We do have a fire department, and I'm excited that they want to participate in sharing with the community what they're doing, what kind of calls they're taking, what's their needs, so that we're more aware of it as well. I've added I know we do report a concern, but I'm trying to let the community know what kinds of reports, so that they understand it's been reported. We don't need 15 of the same, and we are dealing with it. And so I have a spreadsheet that I am tracking every single one of them. And so what we're doing, and it's kind of what John has set up to kind of hand me to continue working with, but I respond to him immediately. I send it to our appropriate department head, and they respond right after that immediately. So you get multiple contacts. And then I've had at least 10 people respond, thank you. Thank you for letting me know that you heard me and that you guys are considering the best way to address this. We do have our internal system, work orders that they get and they start to work, but these are not that. This is, they report a concern, and then we disseminate what that is. So, and then the other thing is just, this is supposed to be for the community. We want the community, not just you all, but the community to understand. And I think that that's been really encouraging. Everywhere I go, people are telling me, I read your report. And so that's very refreshing that our community is very engaged and very committed to hearing and vocalizing what things are. I don't hear just concerns all the time. And I am hearing things that are very positive, that interacted with one of you or our staff. And so it is very refreshing. So I just want to end on that. Enjoying my time with the community.
Thank you. Council?
I've got something.
Yes, sir.
I would like to figure out what we have for protocol for our beach attendants and what they're doing when we have an incident like what happened this past weekend. Even talking with the EMS guys, their first step should have been calling 911 right away, because that activates all parties, police, fire and rescue, Coast Guard, goes out to them all, especially if it's a water situation. One of my employees happened to be there. He's the one that reported it to the attendant, and it was about an hour before anybody basically got there.
So I have somebody that was there too and reported just the opposite.
Yeah, well,
As far as the beach attendant and the police and how well they worked together and responded and got the Coast Guard.
I know, but I got text messages.
I had a guess that was right there. I would give it, so we've got a,
It's just a perception.
it is,
Perception
yeah.
of reality.
But I think an hour, I mean, certainly, I don't think that's the case. Chief Pruitt
No.
could probably speak to that, that the response I heard was phenomenal as far as in getting out there. But yes, should they have a protocol?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would hope that they do.
I will remind them, they do, they go through these.
Yeah.
I mean, Ralph works with them, he's directly with them, Jody works with them, Pam is gonna be working with them soon. But they are trained to call 911
Yeah.
when they see something.
On that thread, at one of our coffees, someone mentioned, so it was prior to this incident, that maybe the beach attendants need to have some backup, that people are being a little bit abusive, or, you know, a beach attendant might be coming and saying, hey, you're not allowed to do X, and the person is pushing back, and what are we doing to support them? So I'm not asking you to.
Report it right away.
Yeah, we addressed that.
I'm not asking you to answer that, I'm just saying this was sort of brought to our attention from the community, that we need to make sure the beach attendants know we've got them.
Yeah,
got their back.
exactly. And we do work through those scenarios with them, that they back away and they call the police.
Yeah.
Because we're not gonna tell somebody, hey, you can't do that, and then they get in their face.
Right.
But it is, we want the police to step in at that point, just back away. And
Right.
that's what
They've done what they're supposed to do.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, Jim will also call me if there's a situation like this weekend. I mean, I know that the mayor called me. I got a call from Jim. Jim and I rode around, and I was there for the event, the protest, just as an outsider to see things. So, yeah, I mean, Jim's on it.
were supporting us.
I support everyone.
And there you thought, right?
I don't know, you had that Burger King cap on, it looked so good. All
I
right,
have,
moving
what-
on.
I have.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Just a reminder, just for those listening tonight, you need to register your golf cart for the parade, and you can do that through our website. The concert series kicks off Saturday. Those guys have done a lot of work, so if you see anybody that's on Central Park, please offer their congratulations. They're excited about doing this. It'll be, you know, we're really in summer season when those start for sure. And I just wanted to add to the Public Works team the exceptional work they've done in getting us ready for the season. They are working all over with staff changes, finishing up the park bathrooms. That was a much bigger project than they expected it to be. And if you see anybody on the team, offer your thanks to them, I think.
Are we fully staffed right now in Public Works?
I have to check on that.
That's my yearly question.
And do you know, this is a report of concern, so you get out your notes. Now, do you know if we have a flag yet on the
Yeah.
beach?
I don't know.
Because I know you
Chief?
guys usually put it up, but I guess the pole was broken for a long time or something, or?
You gotta get somebody back on the cliff is at the top.
Right. I talked to a couple of the guys about it, and they said they thought something had been ordered or whatever, but it would be great if, at least by the 4th of July, we had a flag.
Yeah.
That'd be lovely, yeah.
Okay. It is 4th of July, so should get it up.
Just that one day.
We'll take it up.
Any other comment? Yes, sir.
Yeah, just
Brief
from
poll.
the county level, their last budget discussion, obviously they had proposed a 2-cent increase per 100 assessment. They got feedback from really the staff, county staff, with regards to proposed personnel adjustments in salaries. And people were upset with that, so they held off, and that will be dealt with this coming Tuesday to determine whether or not that 2 cents holds or whether they have to adjust further.
What do you mean that there was resistance, like
Well,
from?
you know how we had come and adjusted our
Oh, right,
you know,
okay.
personnel? They did that at the county, but
Okay.
not the entire population of county staff.
Right.
And so there was some pushback on, hey, why not me?
Oh, I understand.
And there was some board of supervisor pushback with regards to the actual 2 cents as well. So they were kind of coupled.
Gotcha.
Because it was a big chunk of money that
Yeah.
was coming through for adjustments.
Thank you, Paul, for always giving us that update and following things. Appreciate it.
I have one thing. Tomorrow we'll be unveiling the winning piece of art for SailFest. And tomorrow kicks off the 1-year countdown to SailFest 2026. So for everyone watching, everyone here, please come to the Lemon Tree Gala tomorrow at 5:30 for the unveiling and an auction of other submitted pieces of art.
At 5:30?
5:30.
All right.
I do,
Go ahead.
sorry, do want to mention Underground Connectors. There had been a water break on Strawberry. Those guys came out immediately, worked through the night, through a rainstorm, in order to get that fixed and get the road back to where it is. The only thing we need left is concrete poured around the meters. But, I mean, those guys were amazing, worked really hard, and appreciate all that they did.
They spent some time near your house, Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you taking them coffee
Almost in the hole
you
with
taking them
them.
coffee every morning and cookies and all of that
I spent
stuff?
hours with them.
All right, so going to the final, first off, I want to say the library read summer that they did today was unbelievable. I mean, it was an unbelievable turnout, and that was really special to see. I also want to put a huge shout out to Pam. Her and I sat down. I, for one, was extremely concerned about 4th of July this year, and I am at peace now.
Good.
So, moving on, other announcements, June 19th, for Juneteenth, town council and town offices will be closed. July 3rd, town council work session tentative.
Is that-
Find out
is
more.
that-
For real? Man, working us on a eve of
Is
the
that
holiday.
canceled?
Yeah.
I've been meaning to ask you all day and just never got in there.
All right, that is not tentative any longer.
No pressure.
July 4th, town offices will be closed again. July 17th, town council regular meeting. And for this year, I think I've mentioned it in previous meetings, but now it is actually official. They put the ink to Dock Dogs. It will be the weekend of October 4th. We will be moving it up because National Dock Dogs is our Veterans Day weekend this year. So we're not allowed to do it this year.
It'll be nice, it'll be warmer.
It will be warmer. It's going to break into my bacon and bourbon in Smithfield, but that's okay. It'll be good.
At least it's
So-
not when we're at VML, which is the
That's right.
following.
October 4th, you said?
October 4th. So if there's nothing else, can I get a motion for adjournment? Oh, one other thing. John, thank you so much for being here this evening. Really
Thank you,
appreciate
John.
having you. And enjoy your time. So now if I could get a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.